All right, welcome back to the deep dive for part 2 of our February 25th, 2025 deep dive.
Ready to go.
I think our listeners are ready to tackle another day's worth of current affairs, the kind that sets you apart on those UPSC exams, right?
Exactly. And don't forget, some of this might be revision.
Yeah, building up that deep understanding.
Absolutely.
Before we get started, make sure you've hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss our daily insights.
Definitely.
Okay, let's jump in. We're hearing a lot about India's growing appetite for LNG.
It's way more than just appetite, though. It's strategic.
Strategic, okay.
Just think about it. India is importing 71% more LNG from the U.S. alone, just the U.S.
Wow.
That's a huge shift.
Yeah, it is.
So we reduce reliance on the Middle East.
Right.
We gain leverage in negotiations, and we present ourselves as a responsible player in the global energy market.
Okay, so it's ticking a lot of boxes beyond just getting the fuel.
Yes.
But is LNG really that clean?
No.
I know it's better than coal, but there's the whole methane issue during production and transport.
You're right. It's a complex picture. LNG is definitely cleaner than coal, helping us transition away from, well, a heavily polluting fuel source. But it's not perfect. It's not a silver bullet.
Okay.
Those methane leaks, they're a serious concern. And there's something the UPSC could easily ask about. It's this kind of nuance that separates the high-scoring answers.
Got it. Okay. So we need to think about the environmental trade-offs,
Yeah,
the infrastructure challenges,
for sure.
and India's long-term energy goals,
Yes.
not just the immediate gains.
Exactly. And that's where things like the draft LNG policy come in.
Okay.
It's not just about increasing imports. It's about integrating LNG across different sectors.
Different sectors.
Including transportation.
Right.
Even the central motor vehicle rules now include LNG as a fuel option.
Interesting. So policy changes are reflecting this energy transition.
Right.
It's good to see things aligning.
Yeah.
Now, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about trade for a moment.
Sure.
Specifically, the India-UAE CEPA.
Yeah.
3 years in, and the numbers are impressive.
Yeah.
What have you seen?
It's a textbook example of a win-win agreement. Trade has almost doubled, and it's not just about oil.
Yeah.
India's labor-intensive industries, especially textiles, they're seeing real benefits. The UAE, on the other hand, gets preferential access for their commodity exports.
That's interesting because it ties into broader trends in India's trade policy.
Yes.
We're seeing greater emphasis on these bilateral agreements,
Right.
especially with strategically important partners.
Right, and it's not just about the numbers. The UPSC could ask about the geopolitical implications, the impact on specific sectors,
Yeah.
maybe even compare it to other trade deals India is pursuing.
Okay, so thinking beyond just the headlines,
Yes.
looking at the bigger picture.
Right.
Now let's fast forward a bit to India in 2047. A recent report paints a pretty optimistic picture.
It suggests India could be a high-income nation.
Right.
With a GDP of somewhere between $23 to $35 trillion, that's fueled by sustained growth, a skilled workforce, and a major shift toward renewable energy.
Okay, those are some bold claims.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds fantastic, but it also raises questions.
Sure.
What about the potential challenges? Things like inequality, climate change, or even global economic slowdowns.
You're thinking like a true policymaker. Those rosy projections often gloss over the complexities. It's crucial to dig deeper. For instance, the report highlights sectors like electronics, advancements in AI, even quantum computing.
Wow.
But what about the ethical considerations?
Right.
The potential job displacement? These are issues UPSC loves to explore.
Right. So we have to analyze these predictions with a critical eye. Now, one specific sector they highlight is chemicals. They actually point to China's success as a model.
That's interesting. They're talking about AI-driven molecular design, customized formulations, and the benefits of consolidated chemical parks.
So it's about learning from global examples.
Right.
And adapting those strategies to the Indian context.
Exactly. And that brings us back to energy.
Okay.
To achieve this tech-driven growth, India needs reliable power.
Of course.
So they're talking about microgrids, small modular reactors, the kind of decentralized solutions that can support a rapidly evolving landscape.
Okay, so we're connecting energy policy to technological advancements.
Yes.
What about more conventional sectors?
They don't shy away from those either. The report mentions electric vehicles, but it emphasizes the need for next-generation battery technologies.
Like what?
like solid-state batteries.
Okay, so it's all about pushing the boundaries, isn't it? So we have this vision of India at the forefront of innovation, but what concrete steps are needed?
They make specific recommendations. For the government, it's about export-oriented infrastructure and strategic partnerships.
Partnerships with...
Groups like ASEAN and the EU. For corporations, it's about integrating the latest tech at a fundamental level. Imagine AI systems built into every factory for real-time data analysis.
That's a powerful image. So this vision requires both top-down policy and bottom-up innovation.
Exactly. And remember, this report isn't just about facts and figures. It's a potential gold mine for your UPSC prep. Think about how it connects to India's economic development plans,
Right.
technological ambitions, even its foreign policy.
Okay, so we're weaving these insights into our broader understanding of India's trajectory. Now let's zoom out a bit and talk about a global trend that's impacting everyone, the surge in electricity demand.
It's being driven by so many factors. Think about industrial production, the rise of data centers,
Yeah.
even the increasing use of air conditioning as temperatures rise globally.
And then there's the EV revolution we were just talking about.
Right.
More EVs mean more charging, which means more demand on the grid.
Yeah. Exactly. And the report makes a striking point. China has now surpassed the US and the EU to become the world's top electricity consumer.
Wow, that's a sign of how rapidly the global landscape is shifting. But it's not all doom and gloom, right? Renewables are stepping up to meet this growing demand.
That's the good news. We're seeing projections that renewables will meet the majority of future electricity demand growth,
That's good.
which is a testament to the global commitment to cleaner energy.
And where does India fit into all of this?
India is actually experiencing even faster electricity demand growth than the global average. We're talking about a 5.8% surge in 2024 alone, with projections of 6.3% annual growth in the coming years.
Okay, so we're on a similar trajectory, but with even greater demand.
Right.
Where are we getting all this electricity from?
Right now, coal still dominates our energy mix,
Okay.
accounting for around 74% of our power generation in 2024.
So while we're making progress with renewables, we're still heavily reliant on coal.
That's the challenge, isn't it? Meeting this soaring demand while transitioning to cleaner sources, it's a delicate balancing act.
So how is India approaching this energy conundrum?
It's a multi-pronged strategy. We're seeing ambitious plans for expanding renewable energy capacity,
Okay.
including venturing into offshore wind projects off the coasts of Gujarat and Tamil Nadu.
That sounds promising.
Yeah.
But it's clear coal isn't going away anytime soon, right?
Unfortunately, not entirely. The plan also includes increasing thermal power capacity, so new coal plants are still in the pipeline. It's a stark reminder that the energy transition isn't a light switch we can flip overnight.
It's about managing that transition, finding that balance between our energy needs and our climate goals.
Exactly. And to manage the influx of energy from both conventional and renewable sources, India is also focusing on strengthening its transmission infrastructure.
Okay, so a more robust grid is key to handling this energy mix. Now, what's driving this rapid increase in India's electricity demand?
It's a combination of factors. Our economy is growing.
Right.
IMF estimates around 7% growth.
Wow.
And that translates to greater energy consumption across industries and households. Then there are the recent heat waves, pushing up demand for air conditioning.
Right.
And then you factor in government initiatives promoting solar adoption. Amendments to the electricity rules are streamlining solar installations, and programs like the PM Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana are making solar more accessible to households.
So a complex interplay of factors driving this demand surge. Now, all of this ties into the economic picture we were discussing earlier, that report about India in 2047. It's optimistic, but it also acknowledges the roadblocks ahead.
And that's where it gets really interesting from a UPSC perspective, identifying those roadblocks, analyzing their potential impact, and thinking about solutions. That's the kind of analysis that sets you apart.
So what are some of these challenges that could hinder India's progress?
Let's start with a big one, urban infrastructure. The report highlights the monumental task of building 70% of India's urban infrastructure by 2047. That requires massive investment, efficient execution, and a long-term vision.
It's a challenge, but it's also an opportunity. Think about the potential for innovation, for creating sustainable urban spaces that can accommodate a growing population.
Absolutely. And speaking of global trends, the report also points to geopolitical turbulence as a major concern. We're seeing rising protectionism around the world, which could impact India's export-driven growth strategy.
So navigating these global headwinds will be crucial. Now, what about internal challenges? things specific to India's context.
One key challenge is the demographic transition India will experience in the coming decades. We're talking about a rapidly aging population,
Right.
which raises questions about our social security systems, healthcare infrastructure, even the structure of our
Right.
workforce.
It's about adapting to a changing demographic reality. What about financial constraints?
High levels of public and private debt are a concern. Addressing this is crucial for ensuring financial stability and creating a more favorable environment for investment.
So managing our debt burden is key to unlocking our economic potential. And of course, we can't forget about climate change, which casts a shadow over all of these projections.
It's the ultimate wild card. The report explicitly mentions the threats to India's food, water, and energy security. We need to think about how climate change will exacerbate existing challenges and create new ones.
It's a stark reminder that economic growth must go hand in hand with environmental sustainability. Now let's transition to a topic that's a core part of India's identity, our linguistic diversity.
It's remarkable, isn't it? Hundreds of languages spoken across the country representing a tapestry of cultures and historical influences. And as you mentioned earlier, the Prime Minister himself has been highlighting the importance of Indian languages.
It's not just about preserving our heritage. It's about understanding how language connects to issues of education, cultural identity, even administrative challenges in a country as diverse as India.
Absolutely. And it's reflected in our Constitution. The 8th schedule recognizes 22 scheduled languages, granting them official status. Then there are articles like 29 and 350B, which protect minority languages and ensure their representation.
It's great to see those safeguards in place. What other initiatives are being taken to promote linguistic diversity?
One major step forward is the National Education Policy of 2020. It emphasizes the use of mother tongue or local language as the medium of instruction up to at least Class 5.
That makes a lot of sense. Children learn best in their native languages, and it also helps to preserve those languages.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then you have institutions like the Sahitya Akademi, which plays a crucial role in supporting and preserving Indian languages through awards, publications, and research.
So we have constitutional provisions, education policies, and dedicated institutions. What about the role of technology?
Technology is becoming a powerful tool for promoting linguistic diversity. We're seeing platforms like Bashini,
Okay,
which is an AI-driven translation platform designed to break down language barriers.
that's an exciting development. It opens up so many possibilities for communication, education, and even access to government services.
Right, and we're also seeing increasing regional language support on digital platforms, making it easier for people to access information in their native tongues.
So technology can be a bridge, connecting people across languages and promoting inclusivity. Now let's talk about a challenge that's closely linked to education and the future of our workforce: employability. A recent report paints a rather concerning picture.
It highlights a decline in the overall employability of Indian graduates, particularly in non-technical fields. While Indian graduates excel in technical fields like AI and data science, there's a concerning decline in essential soft skills.
So it's not just about technical expertise anymore. It's about having a well-rounded skill set, including those all-important soft skills like communication, teamwork, problem-solving, and adaptability.
Exactly, and the report also reveals a concerning gender disparity in employability rates,
Oh,
with a higher percentage of male graduates deemed employable compared to their female counterparts.
that's a worrying trend.
Yeah.
What about variations in employability across different educational institutions?
The report indicates that graduates from Tier 1 colleges have the highest employability rates.
Okay.
This suggests that factors like quality of education, access to resources, and industry connections play a role in shaping employability outcomes.
Okay, so we have a complex picture emerging. What are some of the reasons behind this decline in employability, especially when it comes to those crucial soft skills?
The report points to several contributing factors. One key issue is the structure of our education system. It often emphasizes theoretical knowledge over practical skills, leaving graduates unprepared for the demands of the modern workplace.
So it's a case of textbook knowledge versus real-world application.
Exactly. Then there's the rapid pace of technological advancements. This is leading to job disruptions and creating a demand for new skills that traditional education systems are struggling to keep up with. The report states that 28% of employers believe that a significant transformation of technical skills will be required for a third of their workforce to remain competitive by 2025.
So it's a race against technology with education, trying to keep pace with the evolving needs of the job market.
That's one way to put it. And finally, there's a lack of emphasis on developing soft skills in our educational programs. These skills, which are crucial for success in collaborative work environments, are often overlooked in favor of technical expertise.
So it's a bit of a disconnect between what's being taught and what's actually needed in the workplace. What are some existing initiatives aimed at addressing this employability challenge?
There are several government programs focused on skill development,
Okay.
such as the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, or PMKVY,
Yep.
aimed at providing industry-relevant training to youth.
And what about initiatives specifically targeting women's employability?
There's Stand Up India, which encourages entrepreneurship among women and marginalized communities by providing financial assistance and mentorship. And then there's the Women in Science and Engineering Wise Kiran program, which aims to increase women's participation in STEM fields.
It's good to see that there are programs in place to tackle this multifaceted challenge. But what can students, colleges, and employers do to bridge this skills gap?
Students need to take ownership of their learning journey. Don't just focus on grades. Actively seek opportunities to develop those all-important soft skills.
So it's about going beyond the classroom and gaining real-world experience. What about colleges? What role can they play?
Colleges need to adapt their curricula to become more practical and industry-focused. Integrate real-world projects, internships, and mentorship opportunities into the learning process to equip students with the skills they need to thrive in the modern workplace.
So it's about bridging the gap between theory and practice. And finally, what about employers? What can they do to contribute to solving this challenge?
Employers need to invest in on-the-job training programs, mentorship initiatives, and internship opportunities to nurture talent and help graduates develop the skills they need to succeed. It's about creating a supportive learning environment that fosters growth and development.
So a collaborative approach is key. Students, colleges, and employers all working together to bridge the skills gap and ensure a brighter future for our workforce. Now, before we move on, let's do a quick rundown of some other important news snippets. We call these our quick hits. Are you ready for a rapid fire round?
Bring it on! All right, let's dive into those quick hits. First up, the RBI has penalized Citibank for failing to provide credit information to credit information companies, or CICs.
This might seem like a minor detail, but for a UPSC aspirant, understanding the role of CICs is crucial.
Exactly. These companies collect data on credit transactions and payment histories.
Okay.
That information is used to generate credit scores, which lenders use to assess borrowers. It's a fundamental part of our financial system.
So this penalty highlights the importance of transparency and accountability in the credit market. It's about ensuring the integrity of the entire system.
Precisely. Now, shifting gears to Assam, we have some interesting news from the Bodoland territorial region. Bathouism has been officially recognized as a religion.
This is a great example of how cultural and political developments intertwine. Could you tell us a bit more about Bathouism?
It's the folk religion of the Bodo people, the largest indigenous plains tribe in Assam.
Okay.
It revolves around the worship of Bathubrai, the supreme god, and centers on 5 key elements: air, sun, earth, fire, and sky.
So a nature-based belief system deeply rooted in the cultural heritage of the Bodo people.
Yes.
This recognition is not just symbolic. It has implications for their cultural identity and political representation.
Absolutely. Now, for something a bit more celebratory, our Prime Minister is attending the Humwar Binandini Festival in Guwahati.
This one caught my eye. It's not every day you see a festival celebrating 200 years of an industry.
It is.
What makes this event so special?
It showcases the traditional Humwar dance, a vibrant folk dance performed by the Tea tribe and Adivasi communities of Assam.
So it's about celebrating their cultural heritage and the integral role they play in Assam's iconic tea industry.
Exactly. And speaking of cultural events, remember we were discussing the Prime Minister's visit to witness the Humwar dance?
Oh, yes.
It's not just a visit. It's a mega performance featuring thousands of dancers.
Wow.
Imagine the spectacle.
Yeah.
It highlights the power of cultural events, not just for preserving traditions, but also for promoting tourism and economic development, something UPSC might ask about.
That's a great point. It's about understanding how these seemingly disparate elements, culture, economy, policy, are all interconnected.
Precisely. Now, from dance to a slightly heavier topic, the Reserve Bank of India, or RBI.
Ah, yes. The guardian of our financial system.
Yeah.
Besides that penalty on Citibank, what else have they been up to?
They've approved India's first offshore wind energy projects.
This is a significant step towards achieving those ambitious renewable energy targets we were discussing earlier.
These projects, off the coasts of Gujarat and Tamil Nadu,
Okay.
are expected to generate a combined capacity of 1 GW, a substantial boost to our clean energy portfolio.
It's a clear signal that India is serious about harnessing the power of offshore wind. What other steps are being taken to bolster our energy infrastructure?
The government has laid out a comprehensive plan for transmission infrastructure development. Their goal is to be able to transmit a massive 500 GW of renewable energy capacity by 2030.
Wow, that's ambitious.
It is.
And it shows the kind of long-term thinking needed for a successful energy transition.
And there's been a significant increase in budgetary allocations for hydropower infrastructure as well.
So a multi-pronged approach, tapping into wind, solar, and hydropower. But as we discussed earlier, coal is still very much part of the equation.
Absolutely. Even with the push for renewables, projections indicate the addition of 80 GW of new coal capacity by 2030.
It highlights the complex reality of our energy transition. It's not about abruptly abandoning old sources, but rather managing a gradual shift while ensuring energy security.
Now let's turn our attention to a topic that's been gaining increasing global attention.